Hello, welcome to Satan's show. I am, the imposter, LL Tack. From this episode, I will talk about the two oldest professions, masonry and missionaries. The first of the two trades to develop, providing the other's creation, was perfecting stone cutting. Turning rocks into intricate arrow tips and flint knives, thus the initial craftsmen were born. Up to this time, sharpening staffs on rough edges was the best humans could manage, not all that difficult, requiring pampered specialists. The timber method was very inefficient at producing a sturdy weapon that would enable people to leave the safety of the islands and return to the wild, vicious mainland's interiors. With no point strong enough to pierce through the tough animal hides, they fell victim to the many quadruped predators hunting and controlling, spread out across the Earth's continents. Pangea is nonsense floating over a fictional primeval planet-wide ocean of molten lava. The reoccurring ice age is responsible for exposing the ridges and mountains linking the global land masses for migration. Once the stone sculpting techniques were widely understood, they passed them down to those with nimble hands and keen minds through the family generations. A stationary place could then be located where water and shelter were present near locations of flint deposits throughout the continents. The knowledge and talent for weaponry then provided exchange for food, clothing, and mates, originating the first stable currency of rock tips and tools. The stonecutters could study their craft unhindered by everyday worries of survival. This led to the understanding of flaking and cracking bigger blocks. Watching the ants pile pebbles and sand, fashioned the first formulas for constructing human-made mountains. These fabricated with caves, just as the natural earth formed Goliaths, spanning the globe during its celestial collisions. This pyramid building at first seemed to be a good solution to the unsecured housing crisis caused by the population swell from good living conditions. However, the families of the stonecutters grew so large in time. With the demand for arrow tips remaining stagnant before the innovation of subversive false flag operations to fabricate wars, the system founded yet not cultivated. Until its principles built upon to increase their income artificially, the offspring soon had to forage for food to feed themselves. The solution was the resurrection of island religion on the mainland, having the unskilled progenies as priests. Scare the people into tribute by causing bad things to happen and blame it on the displeased forgotten gods, staged events. Old superstition still engraved in their collective minds, remembered from grandparents' stories of past archipelagic demons, told to help pass the time in their youths having a good scare. As always with human nature, evolving into the greatest liars and thieves this planet has ever had the pleasure of observing scurrying upon its surface. They took it to the final stage, having mastered mimicking all the rest of the Earth's flora and fauna, cheating and killing each other through the millenniums to survive. The priest no longer retold the tales of their common-sense ancestors to teach life lesson. Religion made all the misinformation possible, fooling adult children with new parables to condition the ignorant old and young alike. These same descendants domesticated the farm animals and then citizens of today. Humans were just the last of the beasts to have controlled breeding, removing the most aggressive independent ones for a much more controllable herd. All the old axioms then banned to keep people in the dark about emotion projection and reception. The eerie feeling you are being watched, when you actually are under surveillance with the stalker radiating his excitement towards you. Today we call it stage presence, the ability to captivate audiences in personal appearances. When I met famous what's their name, they made me feel as if I was the only person in the room with them. It was overpowering. This is what the so-called unused part of our brain is for, receiving and transmitting our emotions. Use this forbidden knowledge along with the proverbs of unseen gods to set up the workers for a kingdom on earth, and the peasants can have the fictional heaven when they die after serving the lords of the lands. Not everyone fell for the priest and stonecutters' tricks. The deserting Africans split off as nonconformists to found the nomadic tribal people of the Northern Territories. All the dissenters wanting to retain the ancient hunter-gatherer ways formed small clans, not interested from the beginning in what the antediluvian Masons were up to down south. These Indian wanderers and their lifestyle led to the principles of pre-modern-day society built on camaraderie, honor and not intimidation. Not so, for the original priest cities that is responsible for the creation of feudalism and then early mercantilism, both through raising a child in social barbarism. These instituting stonecutters and priests traveled the globe in search of gold and silver for their services. The Great Wall of China built by them as well as all the temples and carved out of the mountains, cities, and shrines. The early transcontinentalists were the ones who bankrupted kings and other rulers constructing fortresses and castles that consumed hundreds of years to complete at a high price. Even the Sphinx and pyramids were their handiwork. Today their international lineage owns construction conglomerates that build skyscrapers, dams, tunnels, bridges, stadiums and much more. Religion provided security guards or soldiers, the means to control the people when crammed together inside the sacred sites during holy festivals. Soon afterwards, commerce begins, as the visitors needed accommodations while they were at the shrines to pray to the gods. The vendors become permanent residents and more stone dwellings fabricated with the blossoming businesses. From there the foundation of manufacturing was set in motion. The two prime criterions of industry became convention. Pay nothing for the material and fabrication of the product. That is right, 0%, no gold, silver or anything of value in exchange. Today that standard rules the corporations. As the oil industry burns coal underground for smoke to liquid conversion into diesel fuel. They lie about all the pollution the clean electric power stations create just to fool the people into shutting them down. Then they do not have to compete with miners, train operators, and truckers for the black rock. The University of Wyoming is working alongside these transcontinentalists to stop the coal industry so it will die, and then they can easily pick its carcass cheaply. Here it is again, more Americans, Canadians, and Mexicans losing their jobs to greed and mechanization. Oil is not a fossil fuel. The tree fluid restocks from the decaying mountain forest at adjacent ranges. In the United States, the liquid travels diagonally from the Rocky Mountains to the New Mexico and Texas plains on the west side of the divide. Arizona and Nevada on the east side of the continent. That is why the crude pooled on the surface before drilling and pumping, being thicker than water. Oil would not do that if it did not replenish its reserves from newly decomposing timber. Why can you not dump used grease from the restaurants in fields to deteriorate? Other than, it will catch on fire and burn up the neighborhood. The made-up idea of a god is a quandary, and there for free since it is just a thought in someone's head. The same said about the new scientific religion, quantum mechanics. It is to ameliorate your understanding of the term quantum as an elementary unit of force, instead of wave-like packets of energy. E equals mc squared, is preposterous since nothing can either move or be measured traveling twice the speed of light. If power from an object's mass requires quantification, use the same formula for volume replacing the V with the E. The amount of gravitons equal to the size of the material is the true foundation, not Kabbalists' mysticism. The Pope, Rabbi, Imam forfeit not for ancient imagination converted into modern air. Yet receive millions at the sale of the pious nonsense utilizing their priests, con men. Allah Yahweh Iam's religions and sciences are not anthropocentric. The aristocrats invest near nothing to receive all the priceless land in exchange for the useless trinkets and empty words we accept, since in the end it is not the articles stored on the property that the transcontinentalists desire, only the earth under all our feet. Therefore, the two tenets of business are pay zero for the product, and charge millions at its sale. Unfortunately, all we have remaining now is to stand together against the allegorical God. We must ask ourselves: are we human beings of solid substance, requiring air, water, and food to survive? Alternatively, transient phantasms, souls only on a stopover before traveling by unknown means to a preposterous secluded destination. There is no place for either heaven or hell. It is a childish illusion to sustain the feeble-minded, ready to kill their neighbors to stop Satan, the metaphorical enemy of the state that is belligerent against the status quo. The agnostic church of relevance does not try to find answers for ambiguities to appease its followers. Its ideologies stay grounded and encourage debate on all issues from the relevance, its members. Because we know a perfect person is a crafty lying murderous creature. There is no divine scheme from the transcontinentalists instructing that we should do something special, a rule book for human life with rewards at our demise. Only punishments if we step out of line during our short miserable lives. Look in the mirror and ask who you are. Here is something to think about while you are alone. What does it really signify? You are a mortal entity just like the billions that came before you. We are here to make more human beings, which is why the sex drive is so strong. We endure for nothing else. The proof: people remain abundant after thousands of harsh and sometimes boring years. What else was there to do a few hundred years ago for entertainment? There was no radio, TV, or literacy for the proletarian. Travel required days, weeks, months, or longer through difficult terrain to reach any terminus. Furthermore, most peasants were too poor to go to a coliseum or be able to pay for some kind of amusing non-violent theater. Procreation was the only means to retard the slaughter of early society, fornication for fun. People say to themselves, "Why be me here, who am I?" The question's asked of something great or maybe small. Yet you are just as significant as is the mother of Nikolai Tesla. If we were not conditioned, we would not even be thinking at all about those irrelevancies, and irrelevant does not. The system has fostered thousands of years to build the self-perpetuating class scheme that exists today. The mind prisons that we customize for ourselves through literature, as we grow old. Under the omnipresent watchful eye of God, guiding every imaginary brick we lay. The transcontinentalists make sure when done, the lock in the steel door works perfectly, and the iron bars in the brain's window do not move. Go to a hospital, find the nursery and ask those babies, why are they here? If you believe in the system of Allah, it will help those newborns communicate with you through I am sanctimonious composition. Do those infants have a right to exist, if they cannot tell you their purpose hours removed from the womb? If we really believe in divine right and the Lord's wisdom, speaking in tongues, the babies should already have a good idea of whom they will become when grown to adulthood. Tortoise and turtle hatchlings by inherited intelligence are aware to either crawl into the ocean from the beach, or stay on dry sandy land from birth. The tortoise understands it evolved for desiccated terrain only and will drown if submerged. While the turtle knows to remain in or by the bodies of water or it will dry up and die. All the survivalists today that are building bomb shelters are only constructing underground prisons for themselves. It will not take long after they have gone subterranean before they will want out, stricken with claustrophobia. Try living without any human contact other than that of the people that you once loved, soon you will become stir-crazy and tear each other apart, removing unneeded personnel from the cramped space inside the shrinking sanctuary. Force a related group to stay inside a tiny area for a prolonged period with their supposed loved ones, tenderness fades quickly. That is why we have such a large global penitentiary. The cell concealed as the entire Earth, so we do not go mad with rock fever. Mind reformatories are one of the greatest inventions of the system, superstition/religion in the all-seeing eye of I am Allah. The only question you should ask yourself today is, what can I do to help? Do not ever inquire about why you are here, that implies rationales to justify your existence in some way. That is superstition/religion speaking, and we do not have to listen and be grateful to anyone for being here, nor do we have to validate our presence. It is just good that you are here with us in the first place, nothing more. When all of our ancestors in antiquity shared the raising of the juveniles and each other's company, none of the modern questions on the meaning of life was an issue. Everyone supportive of each other and shared in the joy of living day by day, they celebrated it as much as possible and did not worship the past, death cults as we do today. Constructing the new federal government in the future, which no longer has an executive or legislative office. Instead, the governesses of all the states congregate, replacing the two branches, as the lieutenant governesses run the states themselves. Speed of travel and video conferencing make the need for all the extra bureaucrats obsolete, designed during a time of horse and buggy travel. It no longer takes weeks or months to journey from one state to the nation's capital. Set the northern state's new capital locally in the middle of Detroit for even more convenience for the governesses to meet and formulate laws for the Republic of the Americas. No fear of reprisals, released unto the people, free to think of the once unimaginable thought of what the Indians had created on the New World continents before their near extermination by the Europeans. Funding could in part come from personal purchases of goods from retailers and the rest import tariffs or fines. Redistribute the wealth by separating the judged articles stolen or gained unfairly by the sycophants of the transcontinentalists. It is more difficult for people to own property today than only 30 years ago. It is possible to convert the land ownership of the nation's entire zones to acreage donated to the destitute. Use the current title and deed records to establish leases of all the land in the U.S. to the legitimate individuals whom currently reside on the properties. Change the county and city estate taxes to payments directly to the citizens of the U.S. for leasing their land. Everyone would be part owners in all the federal, state, county, and city parks, as well as the once, no longer privately owned land of universities, churches, etc. This same idea implemented in Jerusalem, Gaza, and the West Bank with the Israeli Arabs. An apartment cost 1 million shekels to own in Jerusalem. Skyscrapers built on the newly vacated property would give untold future wealth to the poor Palestinians. They would have placed in trust their earnings from land ownership and equal division of the rent and maintenance fees, HOA dues. The same done for the beautiful Gaza Strip, so the British internationals could finally have a piece of the Mediterranean. Their smug subversive visages gathered in luxurious villas watching the sunset on the sea from a warm serene location, just as Spain, Portugal, France, Italy, etc. As soon as removing the Bedouin and Semites, Arabs, from their generational assets. The agnostic church of relevance and the Bridge Party will structure a new horizon of hope for the human beings of the Republic. A birth-to-death system to replace the thousands of years-old plague of Judaic Islamist Catholics, Hindus, and all the rest of the me first and screw everyone else religions. It is up to the true Christians if they want to join us and escape the mechanized robotic future of the transcontinentalists. Thank you for listening to Satan Show. I am, the imposter, LL Tack.